tan. Let's get it all out now.
All right, we are live.
Great.
Once again, a seamless transition.
It's like that scene from the Blues Brothers where they just skid into the parking space perfectly. Like it's a completely uncontrolled thing, but it ends just right.
I like to think my life is very similar to that. Just this crazy out of control skid that I hope is going to work out.
Always just barely happening.
That's all you can do when you're in an uncontrolled skid is just kind of like, well, let's see where this goes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you turn into it, I guess. That's really the only option you got. And
I was driving from Minneapolis to North Dakota once. My girlfriend was going to school there. I was going up to see her for the weekend, and I was driving an S10 Chevy pickup truck, which had 140 pounds of sand in the back because it was snowing and icy. And as I was about halfway there, I was heading up this slight incline, and I hit a patch of ice, and my truck spun completely around so that I was still sliding in the correct direction down the freeway, but I was facing oncoming traffic on the side of the road that I was on. So I just did a 180, and I'm looking at two 18-wheelers, one in each lane, about 200 yards behind me, coming at me as I'm sliding backwards down the road. So I just kind of played with the wheel a little bit, and eventually it righted itself slightly. Then I slid. Then the road had started to curve, so I slid backwards on the road down into a ditch. Luckily, on the other side of the ditch, it immediately went back up to an incline. So I backed up onto that and then gunned it and basically jumped back out onto the freeway facing the correct direction and got up just enough speed so that the semis didn't run me over when they got up to me. It was very exciting.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Did you live?
I did. I think I lived. Yes.
Were your pants clean?
Actually, yeah. It was a surprisingly calm moment, but there was that. Oh, I'm facing the wrong direction and skidding uncontrollably. This is bad.
We'll start the show here in a second, but let's get to some science first. I learned recently why it is that you evacuate your bowels during times of extreme fright. And it is a holdover from our primitive days where when the fight or flight response kicks in, then you evacuate your bowels to actually reduce your weight so that you can run faster.
I thought it was like a skunk, like it's a defense mechanism as well.
Maybe so. I mean, certainly nobody wants any part of like our poop.
No.
Is that why gorillas throw shit at you? Because they just want you to fucking go away?
Probably.
And it's generally why you throw shit at somebody.
They're really good at doing it.
Right.
Yeah, they are. And why give that up?
You know,
right?
If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
You practiced your whole life to learn that skill. Why stop?
I mean, it's a fine question. I don't know why you ever would.
Throwing shit.
I certainly haven't. Gentlemen, I gotta tell you, I have not been more excited about video games and the games that I have been participating in some time. And I cannot wait to talk about what is in front of us. But we should probably go ahead and say, for the record, this is the Schadecast. It is episode 42?
I don't know. 41.
41.
41? Is it really?
Yeah, 41.
Nice.
So episode 41, 9 more, and we truly do get steak knives around here. I was really struck by how much the show devolved by the end of the last episode.
I mean, you're throwing up the steak knives already in this show, so there's nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, right. You start with your finale, and then you have to build on that. So each show is better in theory.
Right.
But that's not going to happen here. Let's be honest. So, gentlemen, to my left in my virtual space is one Justin McFerrin. How are you, sir? You were breaking up a little bit there. What'd you say?
I said 10 toes.
All right, 10 toes. I have 10 fingers. John,
Yep.
how are you?
I'm all right. I was telling Justin earlier, I feel a cold coming on, and I'm battling it with some hot tea. So go easy on me.
I don't really think it's us that we have to worry about. But
says Justin.
By the way, a belated happy birthday to your lovely wife. And,
yes.
And I assume all that went well.
Yeah, we had cake. There was shrimp dinner involved. It was good.
Shrimp.
How was it prepared?
Yeah. I made it pan fried.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah, I did like kind
Fancy.
of a seafood medley. I made a little swai, I made a little salmon, and I made some shrimp, and I did a little pasta. Kind of did like a poor man's primavera. It's good. Olive oil, lemon juice, a little basil. That's all you need.
All sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So, but before we dump into what we've been playing, which is how we ordinarily start the show, I do want to do a quick plug for a show that I have fallen into in a way that I'm not necessarily proud of. But over the weekend, I was kind of looking for something to kill, 45 minutes, and I had been seeing ads for this sci-fi show, the Magicians, and I have now watched almost all of the first season of that show, and I don't know if you're aware of what this is, but it's basically it's Harry Potter if they fucked a lot more, and there was like instead of just a Voldemort, you basically just have a bunch of people using magic that just don't know what they're doing. I mean, there's a clear villain, and well, actually, there are a couple of villains, but it's surprisingly engaging. I never really thought I would be into a show about people using honest to goodness magic, because I don't like magicians as a rule, because I think that's all just a big lie. So, but this show is actually pretty good, and like I said, it's on demand. They have all the unedited versions of the episode, so there's a lot of swearing and there's a little bit of nudity here and there and that kind of thing. It's it's very soapy and pulpy, but I would recommend it to anyone who thought like, hey, I wonder what would happen if in this movie Hermione and Harry fucked. Then this is the show that answers that question.
Never crossed my mind. Not even once. It never crossed my mind.
No.
Oh, I don't know how you watch that movie.
Would you compare it to something like True Blood?
Yeah, it's maybe not as campy as True Blood, or certainly as campy as True Blood became. It takes itself not too seriously. There were some funny moments, for sure, and I like the characters for the most part, but the parallels between this and Harry Potter are staggering. I almost want one of you guys to watch it so that we can talk about the fact, like, oh, that's totally Harry, and that's Ron Weasley, and that's Hermione, and all that stuff. Only they're grown up and they're all doing it. And
that just sounds so awkward.
Yeah. It's a fun show. I will say that I've been enjoying it. I was kind of hoping that one of you guys had at least dipped your toe in, and really Justin. I was kind of thinking maybe you more than John might have seen it.
Is that on Sci-Fi? You said?
Yeah, it's. I think it's on demand right now. But
yeah.
I mean, I'll probably check it out now.
Yeah, I would say watch the first couple of episodes and see if it grabs you. But I think it's actually been a real fun show, because the way that they handle the idea of magic is, again, it's sort of the Harry Potter thing of there are a few people who can do it, but basically you go to this school and they give you a test, and if you fuck it up, they kick you out and wipe your memory, all Men in Black style.
Nice.
Right, they're just like, we're not going to let you remember that real magic exists, because that would screw up your life. And then one of the characters, of course, fails the test but doesn't get totally wiped, and her life is totally ruined because all she wants to do now is learn magic, and they're like, yeah,
nice.
You're not very good at it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, and anyway, enough sidetracking. but I was I've been thinking about that show more than I should.
I binged all of Stranger Things.
What'd you think?
Nice.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, that's where I came down. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was real good.
I had one question at the end.
Go on.
What the fuck happened to Barb?
She turned into the like a goo thing. Or
No, I
Yeah,
know. I mean, I
she's
know
gone.
Yeah, I know, but like nobody seems to care.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Barb has like 8 lines more
Come
than
on.
I do. in
No, I
that
mean,
series.
I'm not complaining. I actually think it might be my favorite part of the entire show that it's like she's there and then she's not, and then everybody seems kind of cool with it.
Look, Barb was not well liked amongst that group of friends. Like Barb was tolerated.
Yeah, I mean,
And, I
she
mean,
didn't belong.
well, at the whole party scene where the sister or whatever is becoming a cool kid.
Yeah,
And Barb is like, oh,
Barb's trying to fuck it up.
right. Like you shouldn't
Yeah.
be drinking and smoking and having sex and using swear
Yeah.
words. It's like, Barb, you are the
You're not-
biggest wet blanket on this show.
You're not having fun, are you?
Right. Barb's here to put a quick end to that. Yeah, I don't know what the fixation was about that. Like, people really
Yeah.
nuts for that character, and I thought she was kind of a non-entity for that show.
I think it's just that she just kind of gets the short end of the stick at the end of it. It's like, and I actually like their explanation. I swear to God, we'll talk about video games in a minute if anybody's still listening. But they whatever. They explained her away as like, yeah, I mean, we don't know her parents, and that's just like a separate story. Oh, all right, that's good enough for me, I guess. No, it was
Maybe they'll do something with it later.
yeah. I mean, it was decidedly creepy. They certainly left it open for a second season. Obviously, but I did appreciate that it wasn't really like a cliffhanger in the typical sense. It was just like foreboding doom, which I always enjoy. So, yeah, that was good. I also watched all of Firefly, finished it, and the
Nice.
movie. Did it all.
Nice.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Yeah.
now that you have consumed all of there is of this particular story, what did you think?
It's a good story. Like it.
Yeah.
I feel what they did with the movie wrapped it up real nice so that nobody could really complain that there wasn't going to be any more of it. But it's still, there's still possibly an opportunity, somewhere down the line, Joss Whedon decides to whip that out and make a couple $100 billion off of it. He could certainly do that. So,
Right.
There have been a couple of comic series that have extended that story that Joss Whedon and his brother have written.
yeah,
So I've read.
it's a cool universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something really great about the combination of space and Western.
I love the explanation of the
Yeah,
Reavers in the movie. I thought that was really a good way to handle that. I thought that was cool, where they're, mutated humans.
Yeah, just
We created them. Yeah, it was dark. I like that. It's our fault that these people are fucking psychotic killers and they eat us.
yeah, and super early Sarah Paulson cameo
Yeah.
in that movie. I think maybe one of her first roles, big screen roles. Interestingly about Firefly, he says ironically because there's nothing interesting about this. So I don't do a bunch of the Loot Crate stuff or anything, but I do subscribe to the Firefly one because that's what kind of nerd I am. And,
It's all right. We're all friends here.
Right. It's the one thing that not one thing. I allow myself all kinds of toys, but I love the show enough that the prospect of, once every month or 6 weeks or whatever, a box shows up and it's got, kind of a cool t-shirt and these little figurines and shit like that. So, it came with this time though, the theme of this month was Wash, the character of Wash. And it came with the inevitable betrayal playset, which is just a box with the 2 dinosaurs in it.
Nice.
And I haven't even opened that up. I just thought it was too good to.
I actually thought killing him in the movie was kind of like inconsequential. Like certainly it had an effect, but I didn't feel like it was all like I could have done without it. Like it just wasn't necessary in any way. I don't know.
Well, the way that Whedon explained it, because it may surprise you, John, to know that I've listened to the director's commentary. for Serenity about.
No.
So wait, the guy that has a Serenity or a Firefly loot crate subscription. Listen to the.
I know.
I wouldn't have made that jump.
Unexpected. But when he talks about that, because Joss Whedon gets a lot of shit for killing main characters and stuff like that. So, but when he was discussing that scene in particular, and especially, there are a lot of fans of the show who loved Wash, and when that scene happened, they were real pissed off. And he said, we needed it in that moment because he gets killed, and then you're kind of into the siege scene with the Reavers, and he wanted to implant the idea that, like, anyone could go, whether or not he was successful in that
desperate moment here,
right?
So, yeah, I see that. But.
So if Wash could die, then anyone could die.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, it's I like that scene a whole lot. The whole I'm a leaf on the wind. I actually like how Serenity opens about as much as any movie I've ever seen. Not so much the cold opening with like the history of where we are in the universe and all that.
Yeah.
But when you actually first see the Serenity, and there's the thing that just flies off the front of it, and somebody's like, "Hey, what was that?" I like immediately that that this ship is kind of falling apart. So, God, I love Firefly. We're not talking about video games. It's just gonna be Firefly chat.
Yeah. Everybody gather around the Firefly chat.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of video games, they're making a Firefly video game that I'm very excited about.
Really, are they?
Yeah. There's an MMO coming.
I mean, that's the only way you could do that game, really.
Yeah. So
you gonna get a leather duster?
If I had the build for it, I would never not wear Malroad.
I mean, in game, in an in-game duster.
Oh, who cares what I look like in the game? I'm talking about real life, Jack. I'm talking about being cool.
That's right. Duster cool.
And dusters are cool. I don't care who you are. All right, so video games. Let's get real. Man, a lot of stuff is about to come out, has been coming out. We got a ton of fun stuff in the news. But before we do that, let us begin with our random choice as ever. Justin, how about you tell us what you've been playing?
Well, I playing a little bit of Star Citizen, although the new update has not come out yet. Hopefully, in the next month or two, we'll see that.
Is that the what version is that going to be up to?
2.6.
Okay.
And then they're showing off stuff for 3.0, which is probably sometime early next year. Fingers crossed.
That would be sweet.
That one, yeah. It just it's a matter of getting all the technology. The base technology to build the game up to a level where they can actually start fleshing the game out. I mean,
I'll probably be getting tired of all the games that are coming out in the next month or two. By then, it'll be perfect timing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'll probably play some of the 2.6 stuff, but it won't sustain me until that comes out. But past that, I've picked up Battlefield 1. I went ahead and bought it straight from Origin, and I was able to start playing it yesterday. I believe the day before yesterday, you could start playing them, and it's really fun. Definitely sort of the brutality of World War One. It is the single player is finally back to a level that's definitely like on par with some of the older games. I would put it up there with some of the original Call of Duty, like the World War II ones, where you had kind of a coherent, laid out story, even though it's told through. There's different missions through different figures, and then it's different historical events that happen through World War One. So you get to play a bunch of different perspectives, but it sort of overarches through the entire World War One experience, which is pretty awesome.
Does it like switch between allies and enemies, or what's the general synopsis of the storyline?
If I remember correctly, you're pretty much always the good guys. There's the one where you're fighting in the air, you're in Britain. There's one where you're Italian, I think. There's one where you're several where you're American. There may be one where you're German. I can't remember right from the top of my head.
I have like a no Russian mission.
No, there's not one like that. There are some pretty cool ideas for missions in there. They've changed it up a little bit. Where you are fighting, and right when it begins, it tells you you're not expected to survive, and so you're fighting, and you get to a point where you're obviously gonna die. You die, and you don't die and respawn, but you just become the next guy on the battlefield, and you keep fighting.
That's cool.
And yeah, you do that for a while. So that's a pretty cool.
That's a really cool idea. I like that.
And that just kind of introduces you to how sort of bleak the entire thing is.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the single player is sort of like stealth missions. At least that's how I played them, where you're sort of maybe stuck behind enemy lines, or you're trying to sneak and blow something up that's hurting some larger aspect of your army. Like maybe you're trying to blow some mortars up or something like that. And then they lay in some pretty cool story in there where you're this guy's, I think, older brother, and you're trying to protect his unit. So you're fighting against like the guys who are attacking him, but you have this like full suit of armor, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's some pretty theatrical kind of stuff in there, but it's pretty bleak throughout with the just like, I mean, the melee stuff that you do, and just the mortars, and it's just you end up dying at random from mortars and stuff like that, and having to start over. It's pretty wild.
Have you played any of the multiplayer?
I played about 2 or 3 hours of the multiplayer. It's like Battlefield. The maps are really awesome. The Argonne Forest is, I mean, it looks just like you're in a forest. It's super dense, like a crisis level, and the people are hiding everywhere. And just like in Battlefield fashion, no one really talking, so you're just kind of, everyone's rushing to different points and things like that. So you're just getting cut down and mowed down at random. It would definitely be cool to see that once it gets balanced out a little bit better. But it's fun nonetheless. The on the battlefield kind of power ups, or like you can find like a flame unit kit and on the battlefield in multiplayer, and pick that up and then run around. You go a little bit slower, so they kind of add some of that. Not really like Star Wars Battlefield, but power ups. I mean, it's kind of in the same vein, but it's integrated a lot better into, you find that maybe in like a little bit of like an enemy base or something like that.
You're not just picking up blue floaty coins.
Right, it's not even the blue coin. So, like, that's pretty cool that they've added stuff like that and been able to do that. And then once again, like, they've just scaled up like the weather system and stuff like that in multiplayer too. So a match will go from completely clear, when we saw this when we were playing in the beta, but
oh yeah, that fucking sandstorm, that was awesome.
But I mean, it's just about every level you can play. I would imagine it's probably a server side thing where they can turn it on and off, but all the official ones seem to have it on. But the weather's pretty wild in there in some of the levels, with like the storms and the real trench kind of heavy levels. It's pretty crazy.
Nice. Yeah, I picked that up as well. I did not buy the. I found a discount deal on it on Green Man Gaming, so I didn't get like the play 3 days early pre-order, whatever you had to get by getting it from Origin. But that shit unlocks in 3 hours, so we'll play them tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, the beta was fun.
The multiplayer, they added this thing called operations, which is pretty cool. A little bit different than the normal like multiplayer setup, where basically you're attacking in waves and you're trying to take over a map in phases. So there's like just a general area you have to take over, and it gets a little more localized until it's like maybe you get to a building, you have to take that, and then so you have an attacker and a defender, and the attackers get 3 chances, and so if you make it past the first chance, you go to a new map, and then you continue to do that, but if the other team wins, they can force you back through the maps, and you're kind of going back and forth and trying to capture. It's almost like a smaller battles in between, like inside of a bigger battle, to win the objective of getting all the way through the set of maps of the other team. But you can kind of fight back and forth.
Do the maps like make sense in order, or are they just like the regular multiplayer maps?
So far it's a lot more. It's like they've taken a multiplayer map and they kind of chop it down and make it a little bit smaller. So you're getting a little bit more of a centralized objective in each one of them, instead of here's a huge map that you have to capture several points on. It's more like here's maybe like a section of a map from the larger like overall multiplayer map. So it's kind of, it makes sense because if I remember correctly, it seemed more like you're maybe moving inside of one bigger multiplayer map.
Kind of like rush mode.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like not really a replacement, but maybe like their next generation of something like that. They've definitely compared it to rush mode before.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much all I ever played in Battlefield 3. Like I would do the Conquest occasionally, but I just love rush mode. Something about the push and pull back and forth was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it earlier, and it was a lot of fun. The matches take forever, so you kind of have to it takes forever if the teams are equally matched, but yeah, you definitely have to be ready for a little bit of a long haul for those, because definitely not like just playing a Conquest match lasts like 20 minutes.
I always liked that it kind of forced players to go for, like a common objective.
Yeah. And you can play a 40-player mode version, or 40 players, or 64.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so like the 64 is just nuts. It's just stupid.
It is. That's the best thing about Battlefield, is it's just stupid sometimes.
Yeah, and that's part of Battlefield, yeah.
How is... I actually don't even know what they really did in 4, but the interface in 3, where you kind of had to... like you almost managed it in like a browser. There was like a weird way to kind of do all your rank ups and stuff, and I remember you could sign in online and fiddle around with that shit. Yeah, the battle log. Is that stuff still around?
It's all gone. It's all inside the game now. At least I haven't touched anything in the browser. You may still be able to log into it, but I do everything inside of the game now.
That's good.
The server browser's in there. You can do favorites. Like everything you need is in there, so it works just as much as you would expect it to.
Do you know if you can like invite to party from within the game, or do you probably have to jump at the origin to do that?
No, if you go back to the main menu, I believe you can. Either that, you go to the main menu, you can do a party, or I believe you can just do it from the overlay for Origin if you're friends on there.
I don't understand. Like if you're not distributing your game on Steam, let's just start with that. You gotta make it easy to invite people to games, because fucking Uplay is still all fucked up. I don't understand why they make that shit so hard. Like hit a button and go to the menu, and there should be, party up should be right there. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad they got rid of all that battle log shit. It was kind of useless.
Yeah, I think they realized that as well.
So in the multiplayer, are there? I know it has like the beta that we played. There was the train that would come along if one of the teams got down further. Is that? Have you played, or do you know if that is how like the Zeppelin works? Is that kind of a similar mechanic? Okay.
And that's a pretty cool thing in the operations too, where like I was in a match where we beat the first wave, and then we hit the second level, and then we got defeated. And then when we started, you start back, like you only get obviously knocked back to the first one. We didn't get knocked back all the way back, but it when we started back, it gave us a Zeppelin as like a backup for that duration of that level. So because we got defeated, it gave us that sort of like a power up
because you got pushed back.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Like were you reinforcements or something?
Were you attacking or defending at that point?
We were attacking.
You were attacking, and you got pushed back as the attackers, but still got a Zeppelin. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it can go to either side.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I think it's based more on who's doing worse
No,
from my
interesting.
experience.
Yeah.
And there's like one of the levels has like a stationary like cannon, like humongous cannon, which is pretty wild that people fight over. And you're actually like sitting in it in the world, so people can just run up and just shoot you if you're, So it's like one of those things where you're gonna have to get a couple people to try and have a concerted effort to hold that area.
I'm excited. That sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, the multiplayer is fun.
All right, we'll have to hook that up. That sounds good.
I will probably get that game about 8 months after you guys stop playing.
Yep. That's what it's.
I remember when Battlefield 3 came out, Bo, that you bought it and then returned it like a week later, and you just said, "Oh yeah, I don't like these games." Does that still hold true?
Yeah, I actually wasn't going to mention this tonight because I haven't played it yet, but I picked up Star Wars Battlefront.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was under $20.
Yep, it's hit the cheap bin officially. I've seen it several places for under 20.
Right. So that was the sweet spot where it was like, okay, it's worth it to me to see what this game looks like. But I just got it today, and I haven't kicked it in yet. I was doing other fun stuff, but I'll check.
Did you get that on PS4?
I did.
Yeah, we'll have to team up.
Yeah, I think
make a video.
If you like that, you might like Battlefield 1 because the technology is very similar, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the Battlefield games have always looked beautiful. Especially like Battlefield 4, all the stuff I saw from that was tremendous, and all the stuff I've seen from Battlefront looks really, really beautiful as well. I'm still just not like a first-person shooter is a tough sell for me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just got to be like, you guys have to be like, no shit, Bo. Like, even though you're not crazy about the idea of playing a first-person shooter, you have to play this one. You know, like the first-person shooters I like at this point are Overwatch, because I can jump in, play for 5-10 minutes, and then I don't play it again for a week and a half. You know. So that's kind of where my shooting is at this point. I just need an occasional jolt, and that's about it.
I can't help you. I don't know if it's good or not.
I'm not looking for you to tell me right now, but like after you get a solid week under your belt, if you're still real hot on it, then you might be able to talk me into it. But oh no, this virtual reality shit's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I encourage the mass consumption of virtual reality, so we'll get that's first and foremost.
You guys are fucking junkies, man.
I got the plague, dog. I got the plague.
Yeah, but we'll get into it in a few. What else you've been playing there, Justin?
Man, that's it. That's really it. The first video game from the Rick and Morty guy came out yesterday. Accounting VR. Supposed to be pretty wacky and crazy, and I have it downloaded because it's free, which is really awesome.
And that's Vive only?
I believe so, yes. As far as I know.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
No, let me do that. You look it up. It might not be. But I will hopefully check that out here in this weekend. I gotta clear out some room, get a little more space to play around with, and play that. It's supposed to have a pretty large play area, I think.
You need more space for your virtual reality.
I need more virtual space.
I get it, man. I'm on board. Now that I've had a taste, I get it.
Yeah.
You need some wander room. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Johnny Dolan.
Yeah.
You enjoy video games on occasion.
I do. I like them quite a bit.
Have you been playing any recently?
A couple. Would you like to hear about them?
I would love to hear about them, John.
Please tell us more.
Would you like to know more?
I'm sorry, I kind of went Westworld with it, like, turn off your emotion chip, you know.
I played a little bit more of Ultratron, which is the Robotron clone, because they added local co-op to that game. So now it's basically two-player Robotron, and which also makes it like Smash TV with robots shooting lasers. So that is super fun. It is always on sale for cheap. I won't say much more about it other than 2-player Robotron. Get some of that. I went back and played a bunch more of the Division Underground DLC.
Yeah, how's that holding up for you?
Better now that I know how it works. I actually had to go watch some YouTube videos because I would just go out and get my ass handed to me every time. I was playing with Wade I don't think it was last weekend, and we just kept getting fucking wiped, and it was just the two of us. And when you die in an underground mission, it is over, and you go back to the base, and you have to start the mission completely over.
Oh, bummer.
So what you should really do is, if you're with a party, get your party set up, but then you go into the main base that your base of operations that everything happened in that game. The DLC is actually added to the game by walking to the back of your base of operations and going down a set of stairs, and then you get on. There's a safe house down there that's like a command center, and there's a huge table in the middle of it with like laptops all over it, and you walk up to that thing, and then you set up a mission, and once you've accepted it, there's a door at the back of the command center that leads down to a subway station, and you go get on the train, and it takes you to your mission. And all the missions are basically like randomly generated dungeons. There's a boss, there may be 2 bosses, there may be just like a clear out a bunch of guys, there might be a rescue one of the police officers or something that's been kidnapped, and then
go get everybody coffees.
Yeah, something, donuts, whatever. But there's
I like the idea of you like the fetch quest in this is something that simple. Like,
hey, rookie.
Hey, go give me a latte and make it soy milk.
It's actually pretty cool. I was thinking, oh yeah, I just wasted $15 on this for quite a while, and then I went on there, and when you go to the table, I went on YouTube and you looked up how to do it, and you go to this table, say I want to do this type of a mission. There's all these tiers that you slowly unlock. You start where there's basically only one mission type available, but as you go out into those missions, you will find I forget what they're called exactly, but they're a loot item that you will just find randomly on the level, and it's like a key, and you accumulate them pretty quick. Like after playing for an hour or two, I had like 5 of those things. But when you go to the table to pick what kind of a match you want to play, there are all these modifiers, and the more of those you turn on, it's like turning on skulls in Halo. You're making the game more difficult, or you're slightly modifying how it works so that you will get better loot at the end of that mission. And then also within that, there is a difficulty level for the mission, which you unlock via completing easier missions. So as you level up, the easy, normal, heroic, hell levels all unlock, so you can choose that as well. But some of the modifiers you can turn on are like when you use one of your special powers, like you have like right bumper and left bumper in that game. I play like the healing character, so my left bumper puts down that healing station, and then I have that robot grenade that like rolls out and goes and finds targets on the other one. One of the first modifiers you can do is when you hit one or the other of those, both of them go into a cooldown mode. So you can only use one every cooldown instead of having 2 options. There's another one called Fog of War that makes your mini-map disappear for the entire mission. So just little things like that tweak it and make it harder. There's one, reload. If you had ammunition left in the magazine, you lose it. It doesn't just... You don't just have a cache of 450 bullets, and every time you reload, it just fills your magazine perfectly for you. I kind of like that one. I thought that's cool because it adds a little realism to the gunplay. But the way to really do it is, if you're with a party, get hooked up, choose a mission, and then from that table, you can do matchmaking, and you can get matched up into a group of 4, and it makes it much more pleasurable. Because you don't have to talk to them, and they have the same goal you do, which is running a dungeon to get loot. And I didn't have a single problem. I probably played maybe 15 games with just random people by myself. It was like Sunday afternoon or something. I had some time, so I just hopped on there by myself and matched up into 4-person parties. Most of the time, I had a couple 3-person ones. But just we're running through these missions pretty smooth. When you went down, people actually came and healed you because it's necessary, because if you need as many guns going as possible at all times, or you'll just get fucked up. So that was kind of nice. People like made an effort to heal you and revive you and shit. And I like the shooting in that game still. It's a lot of fun. So I once I learned how to play the DLC, it became worth the $15 I paid for it. So yeah, and it's exactly what that game needed, because the base game, once you beat the story mission in that, there's really nothing left to do. You could kind of run around the city and do those little side missions, but they weren't nearly as involved as these ones are. Like these ones will be. There was one I did where you had to go down into this big sub basement. You went down all these stairs, and it was like a really long run to get down there, and you were fighting small groups of guys on the way there, and then you had to turn on 3 generators and defend them for a certain amount of time, and then of course a boss shows up at the end. But once you get to the end of that was when it dropped loot. And then there was another one where it was just go to this area that these guys have taken over and kill these guys, and you get there and there's like 35 guys there, and when you kill the last one, it's over, and you get back on the train and get another mission. So it's pretty cool.
The Destiny parallels to
I know
are
yeah.
just more striking every day.
Yep. But I really fucking like the shooting in that game. So
which one?
Division
and Destiny.
And Destiny's good too. But yeah, Division. I like I don't know. I like that it's modern, military hardware. I like all the guns and stuff in there. The sounds are great. The fucking graphics in that game kick ass. I mean, it's cool. I mean, if they do a Division 2 and learn a few fucking lessons from this one, I think they're gonna come up with a pretty sweet game. So
I could see that.
Yeah, it's been fun. I beat Doom finally.
Yeah,
finally.
I saw that email.
Yay! It's over. It's fucking over. That game's super intense. Good God. Very fun. I'm glad I finished it. I had like the last 2 chapters left to do for months, and I finally got through them. I did it in one sitting. I just said, "No, fuck it. This is happening today." So, that's the top 10 game of the year for sure.
Oh yeah,
easy. If not top 5. Not to give away anything, but. I tried out World of Warships, the free to play. The game is the perfect amount of simple. It is. Anybody doesn't? I think people live in the World of Tanks, which is very similar. You have a World War II era like Navy ship, like a destroyer or a cruiser. There's aircraft carriers you can eventually get to. But it is just a third-person view of your battleship. W, A, S, and D are your movement controls. A and D are obviously left and right, and will turn your ship. And if you hit W one time, it has like the I don't know what it's called, but on a ship there's like the big lever that they'll push forward to like, quarter speed, half speed, 3/4, full. It has that control system on it. So if you tap W, it goes up to quarter speed, tap it, half speed, 3/4, and I'll hold it down and it will kind of click up. And then if you hold down S, it'll bring it all the way back down to a full stop, and then you have one reverse speed that you can put it into. And then the mouse control is you're kind of up close on the ship, like you're looking. It's like the camera's kind of maybe 10, 15 feet above the deck of kind of the center of your ship, and you just look around with the mouse. But then if you hit the right mouse button, it'll zoom back out into like a third-person view, and in either one of those views, you are always basically lining up all of your cannons on the ship, and if you have rotating cannons, like on the deck, like if you've got a big, huge, like 2-barreled swivel thing, whichever way you look, the cannons will slowly train to your position, and the reticle that you have across the middle of the screen has these it's got like a horizontal line with little tick marks for distance, and then it's got these little circles that float, and those circles are telling you where your cannon is. So as you move your view to the right, you'll see the circle kind of slowly coming from the left towards the right, catching up with where your center view is pointed. You can, with like keys on the keyboard, you can make them not do that. So if you've got all your cannons pointing in a specific direction and you want to look to the left, but you don't want your cannons to move, you can hold down a key on the keyboard and it will hold the cannons at their current heading, and you can kind of look around, and so you're not wasting time moving the guns around constantly. And then basically you're just fucking lobbing artillery at other ships, and it looks really cool. The water physics looks really neat. Explosions are fucking cool. And it's just like a free-to-play boat game. It's like... what's the pirate one that we farted around with for a while? Windward.
Windward is correct.
Yeah, it had, like, that was almost more of like a top-down view, and then the World of Warships has much more realistic graphics, but it's cool.
Like a mech warrior third-person perspective view on the ship.
Yeah, and they fucking look great, and if like you're into World War II shit at all, it's really, really cool. The free to play part of it is like it didn't really bother me at all. Like at no time did I feel like I was bumping up against any timers or anything. I didn't actually notice if there was any kind of timing mechanism. You can certainly pay at any time to. There's a huge upgrade tree for the ships, and you start off with just a basic cruiser, and then after you play enough games, you earn these coins that you can then spend to unlock the next tier. Then you have to spend, there's two currencies in the game. One of them is like this credit, and the other one is basically cash. And unlock ships. Buy those for real money if you want, but you do earn them just by playing the game. And at a decent clip. Like I maybe played like 10 rounds or something, and I was able to buy the next ship in the tier. And as you go up, that kind of goes exponentially. But once you've unlocked a ship, you need to use in-game cash, which you also earn just playing rounds, to unlock upgrades on the ship, like longer range for your guns, more armor. So there's enough shit to kind of tinker around with in there that it's a level above kind of just like a simple shooter thing. And all the ships are really cool. Like you can get a destroyer, you can get a battleship. Some of them have, I don't know, like fucking 30 guns on them. Some of them have anti-aircraft guns. That will, you don't actually aim and shoot those. It's more of like a proximity thing. So if the other team has an aircraft carrier out that's launching little biplanes up into the air, and they come near your ship, you're as long as you kind of point that like broadside towards where the planes are coming from, those guns will kind of pick up and start shooting at those guys. It's fun. It's multiplayer. You can just hop in there with a bunch of buddies and go crazy. It's pretty cool.
I always assumed for some reason that like this and World of Tanks, because I've never played them myself, but my impression was always that they were incredibly complicated. But it doesn't sound like that's
not really. Yeah, like they've got a kind of a nice balance to it. Like the controls are super simple. And I played World of Tanks as well, and that was really easy too. So it's basically just, it's like a first-person shooter where you're in a tank, is all that one is. But you can do third person in that as well. You can do the mechanics are very similar to World of Warships. They just, instead of driving a tank, you're driving a big fucking boat. So,
right. That's
like
cool.
if you're looking for something fun to try out, like if you're into ships or that style of game at all, it's kind of surprising that it's just like totally free and really accessible without having to pay.
Was it?
God, I don't know. Not bad. I couldn't have been more than 20, 30 gigabytes.
All right, well, that ain't nothing, but sure.
No, yeah, but I don't know if it was even near that big, so I'm maybe just making shit up, but
right.
yeah, shit. Like if you're on a budget, like you're like, oh man, I really want to get this game, but I'm not sure I want to pay $60 for it. Go fucking download this. You'll probably have good time with it for a week or two, and yeah, I was impressed with the quality of it. Like, just no bugs. There was no fucking hackers or anything going on. There was an in-game communication system that was real simple. Like, it had like the Hearthstone or Rocket League style, where it's all pre-programmed commands that you can do. You can say like attack my target. I don't know if there was actually like a real chat. Nobody ever used it. I don't know. Anyway, that was real slick. It just worked fine. You can, party up in there. You can join a squad or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, definitely worth checking out, though.
Cool.
An Armada, perhaps?
Yes. The last thing I played was a little bit of non-VR Thumper. Anybody? Thumper?
I've played some Thumper, but VR Thumper.
See, this will be interesting then. That's why I saved it for last, because I assumed you had played it. Thumper is a rhythm game. What do they call it? Rhythm violence. That's how they refer to their own game.
Accurate, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it works for me. It is basically all it is like picture a Guitar Hero or something like that, where the notes are kind of coming down the track at you, but instead of like multiple tracks, it's one track. Your player character is a giant chrome beetle, like a scarab, and you can jump. You can maintain flight like slightly off the track for short periods of time, and you can kind of lean left and right. And I think that's basically it.
Yeah, it's control, or it's X left and right, X, well, playing on a PS4 controller, but X jumps, and then, yeah, that's it.
It's just the one button. Does it get the second button in there? I forget. Anyway, like a white section of the track will start coming towards you, and there's fucking killer just like tribal drum music playing in the background the whole time, and it's, I don't want to say it's satanic, but it's certainly got like a hellish vibe to it at times. And as that white chip on the track approaches you, it's synchronized with the music, so when you hit it, it just goes boom, and then the next one will come and you go boom, and you tap the button again, and then you will need to turn to the right or to the left because there's a large wall that's kind of lit up. Everything's very neon looking. I've heard this game described as picture every Journey album cover that ever existed, and it's basically what this game looks like. But you'll slide along these walls, and that will be in sync with the music, and you will get like a boom, boom, and you'll start getting this rhythm going. And every level in the game is made up of sections. So it's almost like a Super Mario kind of a thing where you're at level 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. But they go, I don't think they're consistent across all the levels, but like the first one has like 16. I'm in like I'm in section 14 of level 2 is where I am right now. And each section introduces like some sort of new mechanic or a new pattern that you haven't seen yet. So it's a puzzle, basically. You have to figure out the rhythm for that section to get to the next section. And then occasionally throughout those sections, they'll throw in a boss battle, which I think is the coolest part of this entire game. You will still be doing like a jump, slide, and then you'll have to do like a jump and hold in the air because you've got to jump over an obstruction on the track. There's also like these little gates that are up higher than you, and you have to get those. There are gates that are lower than you, and you have to hold down the jump button to kind of charge through them. No, there is a second button. There's the boost and there's the jump. That's what it is. And you kind of have to hold down that boost button to smash through these things or they'll cause damage. And you can take 2 hits in a row before you die. So you'll get hit and the outer shell of your beetle will fly off and you'll kind of be exposed. And if you hit something again, you will die. If you execute the rhythm, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's actually another thing I really like about this game is you can make mistakes. There are like things that will do damage to you every time if you fuck it up, but there are other parts of it where if you just miss one of the white notes coming down the track, it kind of fucks up any score multipliers you had, and it scrambles the screen a little bit, so it makes it kind of hard to see for just a second, but you can keep playing. You can kind of recover from that, which I thought was really cool. But then if you complete a level and you hit kind of the sync note at the end of the level, you will get your little armor shield back, so you can take 2 hits again. So there's a nice ebb and flow to it as well.
Sounds fun.
It's really, it's cool. Like I saw some videos of it and thought, yeah, that looked cool. But man, I bet it's just kind of one of those things you got to play in VR. And then I saw a video somewhere where they were just playing it off of Steam and said, no, this game's just fucking great. Like it's just fun. It is hard. It is.
Yeah, it looks.
I have the frustrating tendency to push the wrong way on the curves. Like when there's there's a wall on the left side and the track curves off to the right, and you have to push right on the stick and hit the button at the same time to slide along the wall that is on your left side. And for some reason, my brain thinks I need to steer into that wall to slide on it. So I will be doing just fine for level after level, and then my brain will flip again, and I'll start crashing into every single one of those fucking walls because I'm just doing it backwards.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest
I've done
thing.
that a bunch too.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yep. That's about it.
Don't ever play Fly Wrench.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I watched some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this game's very precise. Like it there's some forgiving moments, but there are sections of it that you'll just fucking die if you don't do it right, and you have to just do it over and over and over until you fucking get it.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, they'll just lay it down in such rapid succession that you kind of there's a little bit of muscle memory too, because the levels aren't randomized. I don't believe.
It's the same. The sections are the same every time. You literally can just learn the pattern and beat it. But so like when you're on, that's another cool thing because it kind of switches up the rules as you play through it a little bit, where when you get to one of those boss levels, there's like 4 sections to it. And so you'll do the pattern, and then the last thing in the pattern, if you do the pattern right, will be like a glowing note on the track, and it's kind of like pulsing. It almost looks like the effect on it reminds me of photon torpedoes from the early Star Trek movies, where they kind of had like that laser glow around them. But you hit that note, and then it kind of like attaches to your ship for a second, and then fires it back up the track that hits the boss that's floating down at the end of the track. And you have to do that 4 times. And if you fuck up the pattern and die during any of those 4 times, you have to start that whole boss level over again. So you have to do all 4 sections, not perfectly, but you have to do it without getting damaged twice, to then pass that boss level and get to the next section. And so section thing, when you boss level, it's 4 sections. It's cool.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
You can only play VR on PSVR though, right? Currently.
I don't know if it is an exclusive to PSVR. That's just where I've happened to play.
Let's find out. Yeah, it's like $20. I got it on Steam. It just fucking looks beautiful. It's got the music is just super strong point. The visuals are really simple, but just badass looking at the same time. It's just I don't know how to describe it. Like the Journey album cover analogy really nails it. But it's got
like if that and Tron had a baby.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. And it's like sometimes you're in like a steel tunnel, and sometimes you're just on like this kind of really skinny monorail track, and it's all open around you, and it's just this void, but there's all like this psychedelic shit happening in the background. The colors are super cool. It's just great.
I know in VR at least it has a really, really nice sense of velocity to it.
Yeah.
Does that translate?
It does. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you feel like you're hauling ass. So.
Yeah. Thumper is a really basic, cool game.
Yeah, like it's not. I'm sure some people would be tempted to put it on their game of the year list because it's really cool, but I don't think it's a game of the year or anything. I think it's just a really cool game. Like,
yeah,
if you like rhythm games at all, and you've got $20,
or I would say if you enjoyed the sense of speed and the visual style of like a Wipeout, and are cool with adding,
definitely reminds.
And adding that rhythm element layered atop a Wipeout is kind of this game, except you're not really steering. I mean, it's an on rails game.
Yeah, you're like is on rails. Yes. Game was an arcade game, Stun Runner. You're kind of driving like a motorcycle. It was very polygonal looking. It was kind of like Virtua Fighter era, and it kind of had that same style to it. But it was basically like a Wipeout, but you had The joystick on it was like the Star Wars arcade cabinet joystick where it could turn left and right, and you had the two handles that could also twist forward and back. But you would, while you were driving down a kind of a track like this game, you also had to like shoot up in the air and down below you and shit like that. It was pretty cool. Stun Runner.
Yeah, I know
No,
there's
I remember that one.
Yeah, I don't recall that one, but I know there's a game that came to Steam recently called Redout. That is I think it's Rift and Vive VR, and they, in the description of the game, they nod to Wipeout. They're like, this is VR Wipeout, essentially. And I haven't tried it yet, but the reviews seem to be good enough that at some point I'm sure I will.
I do not see VR support on Steam for this game. I got to imagine it's coming.
You would hope so. I mean,
maybe
really
they did
cool.
some sort of exclusive deal with PS4 or something like that for a while because it came out with the launch of the PSVR. So
yeah, their lineup has been surprisingly good.
You should tell us about it because that was the last game I played.
Okay, I will. So yeah, let me just get the PSVR stuff out of the way. So I ended up picking it up last weekend.
Did you just walk into a store and find one available?
No, I ended up getting it off Amazon.
Okay.
Because I was buying the headset and another Move controller essentially because I had a Move controller already.
So if I was to get into this, it would cost me like $600 because I don't have a PlayStation camera.
No,
I don't have Move controllers. It would be $500.
It's $4.99 for the bundle.
Really?
It was $3.99 for the headset alone.
Okay.
So and really that's
the
the big
two Move controller, camera, the headset, and then all the wires and that shit. That's the bundle.
And with VR Worlds as well, which is kind of it's the
like demo disc.
Yeah, if you want. But mine came with a demo disc.
Okay.
VR Worlds is a different thing because I think it's a little more robust than just demos, but it is sort of a like, hey, here's what VR can do kind of thing. So because I think that comes with VR Worlds, I want to say. So, but yeah, so mine came with the demo disc. It came real early Saturday morning, and I hadn't charged up the Move controller I had yet. So that was kind of a bummer because I
fucking sucks.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta wait for this thing to charge. I mean, God knows the last time I used this goddamn Move controller. So once I got it all fired up, a couple of pros and cons. It is on the con side, there is a fidelity with the Move controllers that I can only imagine that the Vive is the superior experience. And Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I like with the Move, because you're using just this camera and the Move controllers, there are moments where it's like you feel like you're about to grab something and it doesn't quite do it, but you feel like it should, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen.
Yeah, I mean the technological difference between how the tracking works on the Vive and how it works on the PSVR is definitely like night and day.
Sure.
You just have, I mean, if you could put more cameras in there, you could probably get it a lot better. And I bet that they're working on something that's better than.
I've read in a couple places that, and this may just be people's theories, but that it's a function of that the ball on the end of the Move controller is so big, and
Maybe
that
so, yeah.
and that,
That could
it's
be it,
focusing on area like play because of that or something. Sounds like scientific stuff to me. I bought it.
Yeah, but I don't want to oversell it as being like it doesn't work. It's not like that. It's just that there are those moments like when I was playing like Job Simulator and stuff like that, where it's like I feel like I had that, and then the second time it's fine, you know. So but nothing. Again, nothing game breaking in terms of that thing.
And I wonder if they have some sort of like a touch or like just a different controller in the works or something that would
Man, if they did, like, that would be a giant improvement. But I also understand wanting to get this device in people's hands at this price point,
Yeah.
because the price point's pretty good and it works better than you would expect, really. Like when I first started this, I was really kind of expecting to be buying into a bit of a shit show. I'm not gonna lie to you, but because I'd seen some of the videos of people having a lot of trouble with the kind of a jitteriness with the image.
Yeah, I saw that on a few streams where like they would be holding the controllers perfectly still, but when they're looking at their hands in the game, their hands would kind of be moving all over the place.
Yeah, and it really depended on the game. There were times where I kind of noticed that, and there were times I didn't. But it was never anywhere near enough to make me feel nauseous or anything. And I know some people had complained about that, but I also didn't play that Drive Club game, and I hear that's the stinker. Um, so yeah, so all that stuff is kind of my caveats, right? It's that, yes, it's really impressive technology, but it's not perfect technology the way that I would expect that the Vive works in a much more one-to-one kind of way.
Would you say that if it was someone's only experience with virtual reality, it's still going to make them want to play more virtual reality?
Oh shit, yes,
Okay.
because it's still
That's all
VR.
that matters.
And right,
Yeah.
right. It's in a way it's kind of unfortunate, but it's also like I can, if someone said like, "Hey, I played PSVR. What are the other ones like?" I would say
Yeah.
very similar but better. And
Yeah.
that's I think, if like having the PSVR has tempted me with a Vive in a way I didn't expect. And I'm not by any stretch planning on buying a Vive anytime soon. But after playing, and honestly, it's really like when the Oculus Touch comes out, and when they kind of build out that stuff, it's sold me on room scale in a way I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Um, like once you do it, it's like, oh fuck yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Why?
it just makes sense once you do it. It's just like, oh crap.
Yeah, like I've been living in the cave, and I finally saw the light. So yeah, I played the stuff on the demo disc, which I a couple of the highlights. I played the Resident Evil demo called Kitchen, which is just kind of you sitting in a chair and scary shit happens around you. I didn't think it was great. In fact, it was one of the weaker experiences I think I've had. I played the Until Dawn kind of on rails shooting gallery game, and something of blood, carnival blood, something like that. Flood of blood, rush of blood, rush of blood may be right. And that was super fun. I mean, it's not. There's nothing impressive about the game itself. It's you're kind of in a roller coaster cart, and it's sort of like the games when you go to theme parks and shit, and you're in the car and you're shooting at stuff as you move through this area. And but it had a nice sense of scale to it. The like the move controllers as the guns was real fun. And so yeah, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I just played the demo. I haven't bought the whole thing, but I might. And here's another thing I like about all the PSVR stuff. It didn't launch with out of control prices like some of the Rift stuff did. Like all the stuff I'm talking about is like $20.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Sony's got that locked down.
right. It was like, look, if this game is 2 hours long, you are not charging $40 for it.
Yeah.
So that it's been kind of nice to feel like I'm getting my money's worth as opposed to I'm paying a premium because it's VR. At any rate, so I played that. One game I did end up picking up because this one was only $10 that was on the demo disc, was a game called Tumble. And this was one of those room scale, hallelujah moments I had where the game, it couldn't be more simple because it's barely a game. But it's stacking blocks is what it is. You are in kind of this big expansive room, and there's a podium in front of you, and you can raise and lower the podium, and you can rotate the podium. And the whole deal is that behind this podium, there's a wall with a bunch of blocks of different shapes and sizes. And your goal is to stack the highest tower you can using these blocks. So, again, sounds completely simple, and it is. It is totally stacking blocks in virtual reality. That's all this game is. And, but being able to grab the block, rotate the podium, stack it, and adjust it, really kind of fine tune it. And this is one of those games that kind of tells me that maybe some of these games just aren't tuning the move controllers right or something. Because with this game, I never had a problem. It was always dead on, and I felt like I had incredible control. And literally moving in my living room, like walking around this podium, it was the thing where I was like, holy shit, this is simplicity itself, but there's something that feels so amazing about it.
Yeah.
So I ended up picking that up, and like I said, that was $10. And for what I'm describing, you're probably like, that sounds like a lot, but seriously, it was totally worth every bit of the $10.
I think I've seen some video of that one. Is there like kind of a puzzle aspect to it where you have to like use some blocks to like span gaps or something like that?
Well, I haven't played far into the game itself beyond the demo, so I don't know what tricks it has up its sleeve. But it did do a thing. I'll tell you, here's another like VR moment that I thought was real cool. So I stack a tower, and it's like, hey, you stacked it really high. By the way, here's a secret block. And, the top of the little tower I had was a cone. I couldn't put anything on top of that. So I pick up the cone off the top of the tower, put it down, grab the mystery block, put that on top, then put the cone back on top. And again, totally simple thing, but doing that in this virtual space felt kind of revolutionary in a weird way. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. Did play some Job Simulator. That's a really nice like welcome to VR kind of experience. Played the Thumper, played Wayward Skies, which is kind of a third-person puzzle game, and that seemed okay. And Here We Lie, which is a horror game. I played the demo for that, and I thought that looked real washed out. I didn't think it looked really good, and the controls were kind of garbage, and I don't know. I mean, that's a demo, and I don't know if that game is fully out yet, but I didn't have a real good time with that. So let me get to the thing that blew my damn mind. And it was the thing that when I played it, I was like, oh, I am hook, line, and sinker for this headset. Not over the Rift or anything, or over the Vive, but like this has won me over now. I played the Batman VR Arkham experience or whatever.
Huh?
And that thing is absolutely fantastic. I had heard good and bad, and I don't think it's any secret on this show. I love those Batman Arkham games a whole bunch, and what they do with the virtual reality in that is simultaneously incredibly dumb and awesome all at the same time. And they do the origin story, Batman being or Bruce Wayne being a child in Crime Alley when the Waynes are gunned down, but it's with that Arkham Knight style, that art style, and because they place you in the role of a boy, you're much shorter than everyone. So you're looking up at your parents, and they're like you come up to the elbow of this woman that's standing beside you, and you watch them get gunned down. And it was like, this is totally unnecessary and also kind of awesome.
Gratuitous.
Yeah.
Absolutely it was. And that was great. Then when you get into, and again, to call it a game, it is technically, it's a little gamier, in fact, than a lot of these kind of experience things are. But it's still mostly just kind of standing there. But one of the coolest things, like, you know, you go into the Batcave and you can. I think I said this on Facebook to someone, but there is, much like the Arkham games, they're like the unlockable, you know, collectible characters, so that you can view these unlocked characters in full size in front of you and rotate them around and stuff. And that's kind of cool because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm seeing like a life-size Batman or a life-size Robin, and you can kind of look at all the detail and stuff, and it's all kind of neat. And the other thing that's kind of neat is, to your right in this Batcave scenario where you can view all this stuff, you can actually pick up this little stand to your right, and when you do, the image of, you know, this character shifts to this little base that you now hold in your hand, so that you can actually kind of pick up this model of these characters and just kind of, you know, look at it and whatnot. And the fun thing about that is you can just toss it into the emptiness of the Batcave, and then the life-size model pops back up in front of you. So
That's pretty good.
So that's
Is
kind of
Is
neat.
that the same spot where there was like a you could like autoclave like blood samples and shit?
Yes.
I think I saw it. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
it's close. It's in this. Both of those stations are in the Batcave.
Okay.
But this is the other one of those.
Yeah.
But what I feel like has happened or will happen is, I can't prove it because I haven't unlocked all these characters. There's kind of a Riddler thing you got to do to unlock those characters. But one of them is probably Catwoman, and someone has jerked off to it.
Oh, that's already happened like 1,000 times.
Right, like the amount of simulation that has occurred already is disturbing. I guarantee you. But because I thought about doing it, but the cooler part, or the coolest part of the experience, other than the vertigo, like I did have those moments because you're the Batman and you're up on buildings and ledges and catwalks and stuff like that. I really did get that sense because I'm not crazy about heights. I kind of have a bit of a phobia about that, and there were a couple of moments that did a number on me.
Was it just because it was realistically simulating height, or
because
was
I felt
it
like I was
okay?
way high up?
Because I know
Yeah.
there was. I watched the Giant Bomb stream, and they were having all kinds of problems with like syncing, to the point where a couple of their guys were like getting nauseous from that game.
Yeah, I watched some of that too, and it was kind of disheartening when I saw it. And then when I
Yeah.
experienced this for myself, I'll tell you, there was one instance where I felt that happening, and it was when you're in a scene in a morgue, and you're scanning bodies for evidence, which is also kind of rad. But like, again, because I was kind of into this experience, I've got like the move controller is the scanner, and I'm physically moving around this body that isn't there in my living room. And as a result of that, and I'm sure there were times I just blocked the move controller or something, but it would kind of stutter like it had just lost me for a second. And
Well, I think that's, unless they come up with some sort of like a rear camera or something, that is the thing that will never be as good as the Vive, because it has the surround system where you can't be out of view of it.
Yeah, that's the superior part of the technology.
Yeah.
For real.
For sure. But all that being said, like I had an incredibly fun time with that Batman thing. I thought it's real slick. I mean, it's as polished as any of the Arkham games. It is way shorter, of course. It's, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. Again, it's $20 is what you're paying for this. And,
Yeah, I want to play that.
yeah, it's great, man. Like the other thing it does, and if you've seen streams of it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But in you know, like, you are playing Batman in this, it makes you put on the cowl and all that stuff. That was their big selling point. But you have your utility belt, and you have like a grappling gun on your right hip, the scanner on the left hip, and your batarangs are kind of at your waist, in front. And yeah, the game does a pretty good job of making you use that stuff. The grappling gun is basically how you transition in and out of scenes, which I thought was kind of clever. That their way, instead of just saying like, "Oh, we're going to shift you to this other scene," is you take out your grappling gun and point it at a, the typical Batman symbol that says like, "Hey, you can grapple something here," and then you point it at at that symbol, hit your grapple gun, and then you're in the next scene. So they kind of hide that a little bit.
That makes sense. That's nice.
Yeah, it was a smart way to handle that without just being like, well, no, you're here. Although there is a sequence where you're moving through the sewers where you're literally just like hit the button to move forward,
I mean, what's the only way to get around that is to have everybody have those little track things that you run on, basically. What's the name of that thing, Justin?
The Virtuix Omni.
The Virtuix Omni, yeah, where it's basically just like it's almost just like a slick surface that can track your feet going across it, and there's a series of railings around it so you can't bump out of. I mean, like that thing can't be wider than like 36 inches or something like that. So you literally have to walk everywhere in the game. Like when they get it, so that's an affordable option. Fucking sold.
Yeah, those things are pretty wild.
Yeah, it would be, obviously there are things you could tack onto this to make it better, but it's also going to make it way more expensive. And that's been the thing, right? Is like PlayStation's trying to come in at a price point that makes sense as opposed to $800 for a Vive.
They're going to sell a ton of those this Christmas. They're going to sell tons of those.
Yeah. It seems like they're doing a good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're carrying the VR banner, and again, this may be your mileage may vary thing. There might be some bad units out there. My setup may just be accidentally better than others. I don't know, but like all the problems I've had with it have been minor to the point that I don't notice it except in the moment, where it's like, oh, I missed it. Okay, got it. It's so quick. And the stuff that I've been, the Batman thing has been really impressive. I finished the main kind of story part of it, and then there's some Riddler puzzle stuff that I haven't touched that I'm kind of curious to see what they do with that. If nothing else, it's a good excuse to kind of get back in that world, because the coolest thing about that whole the whole Batman thing was just being in those environments. And like imagine playing an Arkham game, only you're street level and it's all around you, and it looks really cool. Like, because you're in Gotham, it's fucking raining all the time, and you can look up and watch the rain drip down on your cowl and all that, and it's just kind of slick. So yeah, I really enjoyed what the PlayStation VR stuff has brought to the table. There are a couple of games that I'm really looking forward to picking up. I haven't gotten the full version of Thumper yet. That's going to happen. I'm probably, like I said, going to pick up Job Simulator and play through that finally now that I can. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's real exciting about it. So, and there's some garbage too. Let's not kid ourselves. There's still going to be some garbage software for this thing. And
what's the worst game you played?
That Here We Lie was really kind of nothing. And maybe I just didn't get deep enough into it. Kind of the horror games outside of the Until Dawn rail shooter, which was just kind of dumb fun. Nothing special about it, but it's really well done for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that, but the other horror game experiences I've had with it so far haven't. Like the Resident Evil one was creepy, but I've had a rift in one form or another long enough that those kind of sit in this chair and scary stuff is going to happen around you games just don't do much for me. But
yeah,
I could totally see someone that had never experienced it being like, that's fucked up. Like that. I may be just a little jaded, but having like some zombie lady point a knife in your face is still kind of spooky.
Is there like a cockpit simulator, some kind of space shooter or something?
Yeah, Eve Valkyrie is out for it.
Okay. Right.
So there's Eve Valkyrie, and I think there's another one maybe. Pigs is kind of their multiplayer game for it. Which I've only touched a little bit because the demo it was kind of hard to navigate. Here's another downside of the PS4 is that the Move controllers aren't always the best for navigating menus and stuff, even with like the demo disc and stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to swap between the controller and the Move controllers, which again, when you're wearing a VR headset, is kind of tough. So what I ended up doing was just pocketing the Move controllers and yanking them out like a gunslinger in the Old West when I needed them.
You need a couple of holsters.
You know what? It could happen. That's not the craziest thing anyone said tonight. Yeah.
Get the cool like the one that goes over your shoulders though, so you can kind of tuck them under your arms. Get the
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but then if it detects it all the time, I don't know what that's going to do to the games. But yeah, it's I'll tell you, for entry level VR, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Not well, it's better than that. I don't want to discount it quite so much, because it is really impressive. It's just not like if you buy a Vive or a Rift, with now that Rift has the touch controllers and whatnot. The Vive seems like the way to go. If you were going to buy one with the room scale and all that, it just makes so much sense to me now.
No, what's the full price on the Vive? $799.
Yeah, it's $800.
Yeah.
It's eight long.
They just showed off some new controllers that look like they're going to be really awesome.
Yeah, they kind of look a bit like the Oculus Touch controllers a little bit. So yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, I'm all for parity. I want all of those things to be great.
I like I just like the fact that potentially they'll just release those, and I'm okay. I can purchase another set of controllers that are a little bit better. It'd be nice to not have to purchase a whole new headset or anything like that, and be able to just buy new things in different stages as they come along.
Yeah, I gotta feel like at some point PlayStation is going to release that, like, hey, the headset is still cool, but here's new hand controllers and a little bit more of a room kind of thing. That's probably going to be like, hey, if this thing takes off, and it seems like it's selling pretty well, that if it takes off in any real way, that like more advanced peripherals, I think would do that system a world of good. But the headset itself is, I didn't say this, but man, that headset is probably the best designed headset I've seen.
It looks super cool.
Is it comfortable?
It's very comfortable, and it is by far and away the easiest to get on and off. There is a button in the back that you press, and then you can pull the headband back. And there's a dial on the back to tighten it against your face when you have it adjusted right. And then there's one more button on the front of the headset that allows you to kind of scale the lenses back and forth. And that's it. It's like, just get all that stuff right, and you're done. And it takes no time. And it's not, like, the resolution isn't as good as the Rift, but the difference is not so great that it's an issue,
So what are you seeing that means that it has lower resolution? Are you seeing like pixels or?
No, there's a bit more blur around the edges, I think. But again, it's not crazy. It's not a deal breaker. It just is,
A lot of the times, once you go to a game, you don't really notice that kind of stuff anymore. It's when you're looking at menus and when you're really stopping, smell the roses, that stuff becomes more prevalent. But if you're like if the game knows how to keep your attention, then you're not really going to have an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so that is the PlayStation VR experience thus far. There will be more to come. I've been having such a good time with it. And one other thing to talk about, and I feel like the VR stuff is going to overshadow it, but I don't want to underplay how much I've been having fun with this game. I'll tell you what, guys. I just got one of those damn Windows pop-ups that's like, "Hey, your computer's going to restart in 5 minutes. Save your shit." So,
That's some bullshit.
yeah, I don't know how to stop that.
Is there a Windows process you can kill?
Should throw a grenade in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid of losing all this stuff. So here's what we're gonna do.
Do our official pause.
Yeah, have our official pause. We're gonna break anyway. We're gonna stop the stream for a second, and then we'll once I get this restarted, I'll just jump back in and we'll get fired back up.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, we will be back in a moment.